Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. And today I am here to give you guys my review of the first two episodes of a brand new animated series from Disney called The Owl House. Now, The Owl House, in case you didn't know, the first episode premiered back in January 10th, and the second episode just aired yesterday. Had a chance to watch both of them, and today I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. And considering the last animated show I reviewed on this channel and the way it just left a bad taste in my mouth, it made me kind of afraid of the kind of animated series that are going to come out in 2020 because after what happened, I was afraid. But you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid anymore because I watched the first two episodes of the show, and while it's not perfect, I do have some criticisms, but I'll tell you something. I think the show has potential. This show has the potential to be remembered. It has the potential to be remembered as one of modern Disney's classics. And what I mean by that is, you know how back in the 90s and the 80s, Disney had those classic animated shows, or at least or excuse me, not the 80s and 90s, but back in the early 2000s, how Disney put out a lot of these animated shows that became classics that we still remember to this day. I feel like this show, if they do it right, could be one of those shows. Now, if you watch these episodes, if you got the feeling that you've maybe seen the feeling of the show before, you're not wrong. Because let me tell you, if you don't know, the person who created this show is called Dana Terrace. Now, if you do not know who she is, Dana Terrace used to work for Alex Hirsch. Although, considering some of the behind the scenes stuff, it turns out it was more than just work. And she worked with him. And now, in case you don't know who Alex Hirsch is, he's the one who created Gravity Falls. You know, a show that we all loved. And he basically, she used to work for him, and now she's gone on to create this show. So if you watch this and you get sort of a Gravity Falls feel, then that should explain why. Which, and again, I'm not against it because I actually really liked Gravity Falls. It's one of the few modern animated shows that came from Disney that I actually really liked. In fact, I highly recommend you go watch it. So that definitely, I definitely got that feeling from this show, especially in the second episode. I won't reveal all the details. I'll go over the basic plot of the first two episodes, and but I won't go into too much detail because I highly recommend you go watch these and give it a chance. So what's the basic premise of the show? You might be asking. Well, it's actually pretty simple. The main character is actually this girl right here. Her name is Luz. Actually, her name is Lucinda. She's a Hispanic girl. I'm assuming she's at least 13. Yeah, she's 13 years old, and it basically follows her. Um, it basically follows her story when she falls into this magical world, and she sort of starts exploring it and starts to and chooses to stay there. There's a bit more to it, but again, if I do, it'll go into bit. It requires me to go into detail about what happens in the episodes, and I don't really want to do that up until I get to the like the spoiler section of this video. So until then, I won't go into too much detail about what goes on in the first two episodes. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't worry. I'll give you a spoiler warning, and then you can click off, go watch the first two episodes, and then maybe come back if you want to know what my thoughts on everything that happened in the first two episodes. So, like I said, the basic plot is that Lucinda over here, or she goes by Luce, is now living with these two. Is now living with these two people. And she's while she's living there, she starts to learn more and more about this world and sort of her place in it. And again, there's a reason why she chooses to live here, which again I won't get into yet. Now, overall, like I said, I liked these first two episodes. I really did. I didn't like everything about them. And again, I'll get into more into detail about my criticisms. But overall, I thought these first two episodes were actually pretty good, And again, it gives me hope for the series moving forward. And one of the things that this I can talk about, and this is one of the things that I really like about the show, is that it looks like it's going to keep the 22-minute episode format. Now, why that's important is because lately a lot of animated shows from Disney or Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon are sticking with this whole 11-minute per episode, which isn't really an episode, but I guess you could say each segment of an episode is 11 minutes, with each telling its own sort of self-contained story. And look, most shows can actually utilize that pretty well. I mean, Powerpuff Girls did it. I'm pretty sure other shows, but that's the one I mostly remember now. So you can make that work. For me, when it comes to my own personal taste or my own personal preference, I just prefer the 22-minute format. And one of the things that I really like about the show, again, moving forward, is that it's going to keep the 22-minute episode format. And again, I hope it's not just the first two episodes. I hope this is something they keep moving forward. So again, that's pretty much all I can say when it comes to the when it comes to the overall, my overall general thoughts of the show, without going into too much detail, is that I like the first two episodes. I do have some criticisms, so it's not perfect. But again, it's just the first two episodes. I want to wait and see where the show goes. So those are my general thoughts on the show, or at least the show so far. And again, if you do not want any spoilers for what happens in these first two episodes, please click off the video now, and then you can come back if you want to know what my thoughts on these first two episodes were. Okay? Ready? And now. Okay, we are officially in the spoiler section of the video. If you're still here, great. If you're not here, I'm assuming you went to go watch the first two episodes, and maybe you're back after watching the episode. So, okay, let's continue. Let's start with the first episode. So the first episode starts with Luz sort of recapping the story from this book that she likes. Okay, right? And then at first we think, at first it starts off a little weird because you're thinking maybe this is taking place in this world that she's eventually going to take in, like maybe this is happening in the past. But then it turns out no, it was just a story that she's recapping, and apparently this was all a part of an assignment that she had in school, which she, if I remember, she failed. And then she's talked to by her mother, and her mother's trying to tell her that she's too obsessed with these fantasies and all of this stuff. Basically, she's kind of like she's obsessed with pop culture, and except with her, she's so obsessed to the point that she is not really out there. Like she doesn't really have a lot of friends, and her mom is worried about her that she's probably going to go her entire life being so obsessed with this stuff that she forgets to make friends. So what she does is she plans on sending her to summer camp to make friends. But initially Luz is against this because she doesn't want to go there. So what ends up happening is that this little thing ends up stealing her book, and she follows it through a gate that leads her to this world. And you find out afterwards that the thing that she followed is actually this. This is called, in this world, it's called a witch's staff, and it belongs to Ida over here. Now, Ida in this world is known as the Owl Lady. You can even see it right here. Apparently there's even a reward for her. And apparently her entire, her job is basically to collect stuff from our world, take it to her world, and she sells it like it's, they're rare artifacts, like rare artifacts from the human world, stuff like that. Again, we've kind of seen that before in other shows. And basically when she follows her, she is initially, of course, initially she's shocked to be in this world, but then she starts to like get wide-eyed, like, oh my god, there's all of these fantastical elements. And we learn through Ida, she tells her that in your world, all of these things that you know as myths are actually from our world, but they accidentally went to your world, and then we had to bring them back. And then so apparently, according her explanation is that for us, someone must have seen them, written about them, but because nobody's ever seen another one, they're considered as myths. And like these days now, they're known as myths, like vampires, zombies, werewolves, and so that's sort of their explanation. And apparently, there's even a joke that giraffes in our world are actually from their world, but they banished them because they were too weird even for them. And I thought that was kind of funny. And apparently she initially wants to go home, but Ida tells her, "Okay, I will send you home, but only if you do this one thing for me." And what she wants him to do is break into this prison and take back a crown that belongs to this guy. Now his name is King, and apparently this crown is apparently the source of his power, according to them. It's the source of his power, and when he puts it on, he becomes like he gets to transform into his real self, like his all-powerful self. But according to them, the story is that his crown was stolen and put inside a prison that's sealed by a spell that only a human can walk through. So that in itself is interesting because it makes me wonder that they now either two things happened. Either one from their world took his crown and put it in this and put up a seal to where only someone like a human can get through, and they did that because they know there are no humans in this world, so no one can get through, not even them. Or there was a human in this world, and they're the ones who put this crown, and they made it so that only another human can get in and take the crown. And it's not just the crown, there are other stuff in there too. So again, it is pretty interesting. It does make you wonder if maybe another human someday, like before even Luce, to who actually found this world and actually interacted with it. And again, it's interesting. So continuing, she agrees, and they successfully break into the prison. And she meets these other prisoners, and she asks why they were in prison. And apparently their whole again, this is sort of my one criticism of this episode, is that, well, actually I have two. My one criticism of this episode is, one of them is that the message that they're going for is kind of on the nose. Like I wish they kind of would have been a little bit more subtle about it, but it was practically beating you over the head with it. And the whole message is the people who were in prison, apparently they were in prison because they thought differently, because they were different. One of them, they even, like, I don't know if this was intended to be a joke or if this was on purpose, but one person, like, she was in prison because she writes too much fan fiction. That's the reason why she's in prison. Now, look, I'm not gonna lie. I do believe some people who write some sort of fan fiction probably do deserve to be in jail, because if you read fanfic like me, like if you sometimes read fanfic in your spare time, you know that some people come up with some really disturbing shit. So maybe they should be in prison. I don't know. But yeah, so again, I don't know if that was intended to be a joke, but there it was. And again, everyone else, I forget why they were in prison. It's been a while since I've seen the episode. But apparently, yeah, they thought differently too, and that's why they're in prison. And the warden says that this world has no place for people who think differently. And Luce basically says, these people shouldn't be in prison because they're a lot like her, people who think different, people who don't think like everybody else. And okay, yeah, we get it. Okay, we get it. Okay, just move on, please. So when I got to that part, all I could think is, okay, I really hope the rest of the show isn't like this, because like I said, this show has potential. It has the potential to be good. And I really hope that moving forward they're going to be a little bit more subtle with their messages, sort of like this. I don't mind if you have a message in your stories. I just want just be subtle, be creative. Don't just hit your audience over the head with it, please. I'm begging you. And I especially don't want it to happen to a show that I genuinely believe has a lot of potential to be good, like this one. So moving forward, they beat the warden, and there is a bit of a twist. See, it turns out the warden, one of the reasons why he's so remember this picture. Remember this picture where there's an a bounty out on her, like there's a reward, like Jesus, that's a lot of zeros. Apparently the warden, why he wants to capture her is because, get this, he wants to ask her out on a date. That's why he wanted to ask her out. I, I don't know about this twist. And apparently his whole thing is that he's a little too clingy, he's too obsessed, and yeah, all right, we get it. She eventually obviously says no, and they manage to get out and free her. Oh, and by the way, before they do, he takes the crown and he destroys it. And also, there's another twist. The crown turns out to just be. Remember in the old days when you went to Burger King and you got the kids' meal and they gave you those little paper crowns? That's the crown he was talking about. And her entire reason, and Luz is initially confused, like she's asking what's going on, and Ida says, like, look, from these two, they're basically outcasts, and for him, he he believes that putting on this crown gives him power, and she doesn't want to take it away from him. Like, she doesn't want to tell him that this crown doesn't really do anything. And I mean, the message is kind of nice. I just thought, I mean, you could have done a little bit better. I mean, come on, you could have done better with it. So anyway, they successfully break out of the prison. They escape, and Ada says, "Okay, look, a deal is a deal." She even opens the door, and right before she leaves, she starts to think, I would like to stay here. She decides to stay here, and now this next scene to me was a little weird because she still has her phone. Now you would think that because she's in a completely different world, possibly a completely different dimension, that technology probably wouldn't even work here, and yet it's sort of the same problem I had with the Amphibia. If you watch that show, the main character, Anne, like she uses her phone, and to me, and it's not that her phone works, is that actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't she, she still had Wi-Fi, or she still had a connection? And it's because I remember there was an episode where she and the rest of the family were obsessed with the show. Now I'm wondering if she had all of those episodes already on her phone, like she doesn't really need a connection to watch them, or if like she streamed it on her phone. Because again, I maybe I'm misremembering, but here she texts her mom, so she still has a network connection. Which to me, I'm wondering, wait, how does that even work? Because you're in a completely different dimension. I'm surprised that they even have Wi-Fi here. They shouldn't even have Wi-Fi. So how are you texting your mom? Like, are you still connected to a satellite even in a completely different dimension? Like that to me is just, it's a little weird. So basically she texts her mom and tells her she's fine, and she apparently tricks her mom into thinking that she's actually still in summer camp, and when in reality she's here. And I'm guessing her plan is that by the end of the season she plans on going back, when at the same time when in her world that's when summer camp ends. And she but to me, see, that shouldn't work, because her mom eventually, isn't she's gonna be called by the people who are running the camp, and they're gonna tell her that her daughter never made it there, and she's gonna end up where she'll probably think that something happened to her, right? I mean, or probably no, because she's gonna be told that her daughter never showed up, and then she's gonna be wondering, wait, what happened? Because she told me she was there. So, and again, there's no way this is gonna work. So I'm wondering if maybe they're gonna pay that off later in the season. So it's just, I'm curious to see where they take this. I hope they don't just expect us to believe that, oh yeah, this is gonna work, like it's no problem. No, come on, you gotta do something with that. You have to. Okay, first episode is over. Overall, first episode, I thought it was good. Again, like I said, except for the whole message that's beating you over the head, over, like, don't judge people who are different. It's just like, okay, we get it. Okay, we get it. And also, another criticism that I had is that the voice actress for Ida, I like some of her lines were delivered kind of weird, so I don't know if maybe because the voice director doesn't really like did he or she not tell her that, hey, maybe you could read that line a little bit differently, because it's just it was delivered kind of, it felt kind of off. Okay, so that's just, again, if you watch the episode, let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the delivery of the of her lines. Just let me know if you caught that, or if maybe it's just me. Okay, on to the second episode. So second episode is Luce wakes up and now she's all gung ho and ready. Again, we've seen this in other shows where you have the apprentice and they get up, they're new to all of this, they're ready, they want to get started, they want to learn, and basically it doesn't end up the way she thought it would. At first she's wondering, like, okay, can I get my, she even asked, like, can I get my wizard staff, and she says no, no, like, you're not ready, you're not ready for something like that. um and she she's basically like loose her the entire time this episode. She has this sort of romanticized view of this world, like she believes in the fantastical, like, and in a lot of works of fiction that we see, like whenever you have characters going into these magical worlds, all of a sudden it's filled with magic, it's filled with wonder. And for her, unfortunately, that's just not the world that she's in, and she ends up learning that. Well, she ends up learning that it kind of is, but at the same time, it isn't. We'll get to that. And she first wants, she's even says, like, okay, now I want to go on a quest. And Ida tells her, okay, well, here's your quest. Here's a bunch of chores. Go get them done. And apparently, this is all like a part of her apprenticeship. And her chore basically is to take this stuff and deliver it to my clients. And she goes out, she does that, and there are plenty of moments where she's sort of starting to second guess herself, which I kind of like, because it does a little bit add to her character. I'm happy that she doesn't stay like the same one dimensional character throughout the show, which unfortunately we tend to see with a lot of these sort of children's shows lately. Like, they don't really change. And she starts to have these moments where she's second guessing herself, because constantly trying to, like, she's constantly hoping that this world is going to be a lot like the story in this book that she carries around with her. But like, even King is trying to tell her, like, look, this lady, I'm sorry, this world that we're in right now, it's not all whimsical, it's not all joyous, like it's a pretty bad place to live in, like, it's you have to be careful here. And all this time she's trying to tell him, no, this place still has whim, like, she's still trying to find it. And anyway, she and the last client on the list they go to, she even makes a joke that says, "Look, by now this main character in the story has already been given a quest by the wizard, and she sent out on this, and she sets out and she goes on this fantastical adventure, and then as it so happens, the last client turns out to be a wizard, and." He says that I see something. Like, he gives her that whole shtick, like, oh, I see something in you. I believe you have something. That again, that's stuff that we see in a lot of works of fiction. And he basically gives her everything that she kind of like hoped it would. Like, oh, I got a quest from a wizard. This wizard says, like, he believes in me. He believes I'm the chosen one and all this stuff. And he gives her a map. And then when she goes home and King tells Ida, there's even this funny moment where they both basically break out laughing at this whole, basically someone believing like she's the chosen one. And it's not that they were laughing at her; they were just laughing at this whole idea of there being a chosen one and a who's destined to go on this fantastical quest. And I thought it was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. And she takes a look at the map and basically says it's all bogus, because if there was a map to something that was this fantastical, I would have already stolen it a long time ago. So she's not even gonna pretend that she's not a thief. But she's not even hiding it. And basically, there was a moment where she starts to believe that, okay, maybe she's right, maybe there's nothing, and then she starts to see the hidden writing in the map, and it says that only someone who is worthy can see this. And the entire time you're sitting there and you're wondering, okay, so something's got to be going on here, okay, like this just doesn't fit. Like, are they really gonna go with the usual, like everyone else is skeptical and cynical, whereas you have this new person come in and it turns out, oh, they are the chosen one and all this. We'll get to that. So after that, she leaves, and Ada is asking King, like, who was this guy that gave her the map? And he says, oh, he's a wizard, and apparently in this world, Ada keeps saying, like, you can't trust a wizard because they're the worst. I'm guessing she has some sort of a history with wizards. I don't know. Again, maybe we'll see once as the series goes on. So she goes over to talk to Luce, and notices that she's gone, and chooses to go after her. And as Luce is on this journey, she meets a bunch of different people. One character in particular called uh, Nevereth. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And apparently he's like the stereotypical character in a fantasy where he has the dark hair, the eye patch, the tortured soul, that usual character. And Luce is just falling all over him. Now, at first when I saw this, all I could think is, wait a minute. So you're telling me that in 2020 we can actually have a show where a girl falls in love with a guy, a good-looking guy? Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Again, I'm just saying this because we're living in 2020 where we have all of these people who just who can't take, like, everything has to be all gay and everything, and it's like, look, I don't have a problem with that, but again, you know what I'm talking about. Basically anything that's straight is bad. Anything that depicts heterosexual relationships is considered bad these days, especially in Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, where it seems like they're starting to go in that direction, but it seems like maybe they're finally starting to change. At least, good God, I hope. Good God, I hope they're starting to change. And anyway, so back to the episode. Luce is just falling all over him, and like he even says, like, let me join you on your quest and all of that. And she's like, yep, yeah, I want you on my quest. I'm not even gonna deny it. And anyway, she makes it to a town, and then she's on her way. But then Ada shows up in the same town, and it's all destroyed. But sorry, even before that, she shows up at the castle where she met the wizard, and turns out it's ruins. And that leads you to believe that, oh, okay, so he tricked them. He cast like an illusion to make people think that it was a fantastical castle with everything, with all of the usual stuff that castles have in it, like the giant this wall of books, and a typical castle, wizard in a castle stuff. The typical stuff you see in a lot of fantasies shows. And anyway, she basically Luce ends up traveling to all these different places, meets all these different people, and then Ida shows up at the same places, but she sees it for what it actually is. And she discovers that it's a trap, like they're luring Luce to a trap so that they can get to Ida. And a funny scene that happens here is that on their way there, the guy Nevereth, I don't even know why they even called him that. He even asked her, like, do you need a cape? And she at first says, no, I don't need a cape. And then it's this funny scene where he rips out the his shirt, and he sort of turns it into a cape. And when he does, he's all like buff, and he's got like these perfect pecs, and she just has this big grin on her face and said, yes, I want that cape. Oh, okay. It's just I just thought it was funny. I don't know. And again, it's not even so much that what happened in the show is funny. I think it's funny that we're getting this stuff now in 20. I could think. Also, I'm thinking. Wait a minute. This is supposed to be aimed at kids, and yet you're showing a girl basically fawning all over a guy with abs, and all I could think is, wait a minute, how old is this guy? Because she's like 13. And Like, is he a teenager? Is he over the age limit? What even is the age limit in this world? And it's just I don't know. I just the I just thought of those questions. I don't even know why. Um, anyway, so moving forward, she makes it to the point on the map that she was supposed to go, and it turns out that there's this staff, this sort of magical staff that apparently only, like, again, it's the same it's the same stuff that we see in a lot of fantasies. Like, there's this ancient weapon that only the chosen one, and that's usually the main character, can use. And she goes through with it, but then of course it's all revealed to be fake. It's all revealed to be a trap. That there is no ancient weapon, there is no chosen one, there's none of that stuff here. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like that. I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like that that they did that. I'm happy that they're. I hope that moving forward they don't change their minds and they keep this whole, like, look, all that stuff's great, but in this world we don't have those things like the chosen one, the destinies, and all that stuff. It's just no, there's none of that stuff here, and I'm really hoping they keep that. So anyway, she gets caught. The cape that she was wearing turns into like a rope that keeps her tied up. The ring that she was wearing turns into chains that's holding her hand. The bracelets and all, basically all this stuff. And like they usually, like, usually when you go on these quests and you collect items, and all of those items that she collected ends up turning into things that trap her. And she even makes this joke like, "Oh my god, I was betrayed by my own accessories." Yeah, that didn't get me as much. And she basically, and then she even tries to tell the demon that tricked her that, well, joke's on you because Ida's not stupid enough to fall for something like this. And then of course the you could already predict the gags. She says that, and then a second later she shows up. Okay. um, so far you only had one thing that really got me laughing in this episode. And the demon catches her, but then Ida tells her, "Okay, look, you've got me. Just let the girl go." And he says, "Oh, don't worry. She's free to go if she wants to." And he basically tries to trick her with these illusions that, um, basically all of the people that she's met on her quest, and I'm using air quotes, are telling her that, "Oh, like, we believe you're special. You can stay with us. You can be the chosen one." And there was this, I'm not gonna lie, there was this good sort of character moment where she says, "If I stay here, yes, I'm surrounded by people who are constantly telling me that I'm special, but," she says, "none of it's real." And she sort of wakes up and she takes this sort of plastic toy, like the kind of toys that you it came from her from Ida's collection, the stuff that she steals from the human world. And it's one of those toy swords that when you press a button it says things. And I'm calling into question something here. So this is supposed to be a toy sword, and this is supposed to be, and he's a demon, and yet somehow this toy sword can hurt, like, it can injure him. I don't know, like, how does that work? uh like, don't you at least need like some kind of special weapon? Are you telling me that anything you use, as long as it's like semi sharp, can injure a demon? um I don't know. I'm questioning the logic there. So anyway, she basically ends up stabbing him in the head, and they actually show you that. And it doesn't kill him, but it does cause him to shrink into like this miniature form. And again, I'm wondering how that even works. And Ida basically picks him up and eats him. She just ate him, just like that, like it's nothing. And basically, what ends up happening is that Luce basically says, "You know what? You guys were right. I kept believing in all this stuff, and it turns out none of it's real. Like, this place that I thought would have some sort of whimsy, some sort of fantastical element to it, turns out no, it's all crap." And then Ida tells her, "Well, not all of it." And she takes her up on her staff, which she also uses to fly. She takes her up, and tells her to open her eyes, and she gets to see the land where they're living in from a different perspective. And basically the whole message of this is she tells her that, the place that we're living in, up close and personal, maybe it's not as good, like, it's not as fantastical as you kind of hoped it would be, but if you look at it from a different perspective, it can be, not so bad. And I thought that was an okay message. That was a nice thing to, if you wanted to teach kids. And she even asked her again, so does this mean I can get my own wizard staff or a witch's staff? And she says, well, not yet, but who knows, maybe soon. So she is gonna get one eventually. And something else happened. Oh God, what am I forgetting? Um, oh God, what am I forgetting? I just and yeah, that's basically it. That's Oh yeah. Ida even tells her that, look, when it comes to this whole chosen one thing, look, she tells her basically, like, if we all waited for some magical destiny to tell us what we're supposed to do, then we'd all basically wait until we're dead. And she tells her that, look, you have to go out and you have to make your own. You have to you have to take life into your own hands. Which again, another good message to teach people. Like, if you're aiming this towards kids, like, that's a good thing to teach. Go out there and make your own life. Like, don't just wait around for something to tell you what your life's gonna be. So that's a good message. Anyway, and that's it. Those are the first two episodes of The Owl House, and so far, I I like them. Again, they're not perfect. There are still some things that sort of need to be worked out. Like, again, the rules of this world kind of need to be explained. Like, again, how is it that a toy sword can somehow defeat a demon? And again, it's just those are things that I'm starting to wonder if maybe those things aren't really gonna matter. And it kind of sucks because those things kind of matter when you create a world. Like, you need to establish what the rules are, like what is or isn't possible. So again, moving forward, I hope they address that. I really do. So, but again, overall, the first two episodes pretty good. It does give me hope. It does give me hope for this show. I have hope. I'm hoping that this could be really, really good. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching this. Let me know in the comment section down below if you saw these first two episodes and what were your thoughts on this. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you get the whole Gravity Falls feel to it like I did? Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. Like, share, and also subscribe so that next week when episode 3 comes out, I'll also be doing my review on episode 3. So subscribe and hit the bell icon to let you know when that video gets uploaded. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please